Hey everybody, welcome to Am I the Asshole podcast. Yes, we are no longer a podcast, we are a pobcast. This is a decision Sarah and I made.
Okay.
Thanks for supporting us in the pobcast, Sarah. Why you were the one who came up with this? Why did you want to call it a pobcast instead of a podcast?
Why are you trying to bait me? First of all, I wanted to call it a podcast after the iconic 90s toy. And you misheard me.
Oh, well, my mistake. I spent $4,000 on the domain podcast.com. So. Anyway, guys, I'm trying to be in a silly mood because I'm in a very dark place. I'm going through the throes of a breakup. And my way of coping with that primarily has been to bike. I bought a bicycle that I'm really enjoying. First, I bought a ghost bike, if you don't know, which is a memorial dedicated to dead bikers.
The ghost bike.
And I felt some guilt about that because, you know, I've killed bikers. I didn't really want to be reminded of all the bikers I've killed. No, I felt bad doing that. So I bought another bike and then I finally got to this bike. Long story short, Sarah, today I'm like, let me just go do a ride because I love to ride my bike. I put on music just in one ear. You got to be safe, people. Mm-hmm. And I'm like... It just makes me, it gives you endorphins or whatever. I don't speak exercise, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
I get a little cocky on the bike. I'm not going to lie. Because it's kind of, you know, you're on par with a car, except if a car hits you, you die. And
yes,
I ride very fast. I've built some muscle so I can ride, you know, pretty fast. And I see this girl. I'm going down like Essex and see this girl. She's clearly leaving her spot. And I go, I don't want to hit my brakes because that's the thing, right? You don't want to hit your brakes because then you got to pedal again. Nobody wants to do that. You have momentum. You have speed. You are going. You don't want to just have to, you know, slow down.
I thought you were talking about you're about to park.
No, she was leaving her parking spot. I'm just riding around. She's leaving her parking spot. She's just starting to pull out. I see the nose of her car kind of go out and I go, she'll see me.
Oh, I see.
I don't want to hit my brakes.
Oh, okay.
I go directly in front of her car. She pulls directly into me.
Uh-oh.
Fortunately, thank God, she's going about 3 miles an hour.
Oh, boy.
So
you could have been a ghost bike.
I could have been a ghost bike,
Ugh.
you know? And so I basically eject from the bike and run to prevent falling. And I don't fall. The bike hits the ground kind of hard, but not really a big deal. She's super sorry. There's a group of kids who see the whole thing go down and they go, you gotta look, you gotta look. And,
that is the thing with driving. You do indeed have to look.
I don't think she looked.
Obviously not.
So I said, promise me you'll look. And she eventually promised that she would look. And then I felt really bad. She seemed like really flustered and upset. And I did feel like it was kind of my fault in the sense of like, I was driving pretty aggressively. I could have switched lanes, but I wanted to, you know, I had my speed and I kind of let her off the hook and was just like, hey, I don't want you to feel guilty. And so I kind of like circled back and had a second conversation with her because I was uninjured. The bike was uninjured. So I didn't want it to destroy her. I just wanted her to look.
Okay.
That's it.
Wow.
That's my tale of woe.
Wow. I feel like you do too much.
What would you have done? What was I done after the first interaction?
Yeah. And then just let it go.
Here's another hot take and I'll delete this if you hate it.
Oh, okay.
I'm on these dating apps. You're on the app, Sarah. You recommended Bumble, isn't that right?
For you.
Yes. I mean, I'm liking Hinge and Bumble the most.
Yeah.
Coffee Meets Bagel, I'm an investor. I believe it could happen on there, but it just hasn't happened yet. I feel like I'm not able to get through a lot of people.
Coffee Meets Bagel is like too confusing and I haven't used it for years, so I don't know if it still works that way, but back when I used it, it was like you would get one match per day at precisely 12 p.m. and then you only had a certain window and it's like I would miss pretty much every single match because I was not stalking that app. And I was like, all right, this is not worth my time. I can just go on Hinge.
Yeah, Hinge I like. Hinge gives you a little bit of content to interact with. And, you know, it's pretty fun. But I kind of had this take where a couple ladies I was talking to tried to like kind of DTR right away, you know, like try to, oh, I'm not here just for the hookups. Like in a DM. Why are you going to say that? I don't think you need to say that. I think it's just as crazy to say that as if it were for me to say, well, I'm just DTF.
I don't think it would be crazy for you to say that at all. It would actually save a lot of people time. The problem with what the women are doing is I don't think it's crazy. I just think it's ineffective. I don't think you're going to really get the answer you want, and you kind of just have to look for it in like other types of signals.
I guess the way I see it, though, is like who knows? I don't know. Why are you going to make me define it? I don't know. You're freaking me out.
I've had my time wasted enough times that it's kind of like, nah. Like, if you really want something and you don't want to be jerked around,
but
I don't want to waste my time with the like, well, it could happen type guys.
But isn't that, what if they're being truthful?
That's fair, but also like that could also result in me investing like 3 to 6 months of my time with someone who keeps giving me like some kind of non-answer, like holding pattern.
Okay. I'm starting to see the other side of this now.
Yay!
So guys will hook up with you and there seems to be something developing. Then you lose the animal lust phase and they peace.
I guess that's part of it, but it's also just like people who don't really know what they want, but also like are comfortable living in this like limbo phase, even though it's like hurting another person because they know what they don't want and they know they don't want a relationship, but they also know that like saying that outright is going to cause them to lose like what's happening. Does that make any sense? I know I'm being like oddly specific and this is definitely a subtweet.
No, I mean, well, I know you have experience on this, so it's interesting to think about the dance of it, I guess. And for me, it is a buzzkill to be asked that, and I get annoyed because I'm like, why don't you just let this play out and don't fuck me? I don't understand. Like, just play the game. That's what it is. Like, we're both playing the game, right? Like, yes, I probably want to have sex with you much sooner than you do. Fine, but like, I don't know. I find it really unattractive to DTR after I've texted you 35 times. It's like, dude, well, I don't know. Probably not.
I mean, it's unattractive to you, which I think is honestly like a good signal anyway. And that's what these people are weeding out to begin with.
Are they weeding me out, though? I feel like they're blowing it for themselves. It's just an aggressive question.
I don't think it's aggressive to be like upfront about what you want. I wish more people would do that. And if you're off put by that, then that's fine. But that's like a signal that you guys don't want the same thing in the end, in my opinion.
I guess I just feel like it's kind of emergent. You sort of be like, well, I can't live without you, so I guess we'll stay together.
No, I don't think these people are trying to be like, what are we? But if they are, like, tell me, and then I have a totally different answer. But I think they're trying to be like, hey, they're trying to get a sense of like, I don't know, 2 months down the line or something, like, what's this gonna like possibly turn into? And I can't really fault anyone for wanting to like know what a possible end game is or isn't before deciding to like jump in.
Okay, I'm starting to get that the burn. People are getting burned a lot with these 2-monthers, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean that's been me for the past, I want to say 5 years. Since how long have I lived in New York? Okay, 4 years. 4 years. But let's make it like a conservative 3. You date someone and then around the like 8-week mark, maybe you're kind of like, okay, this is like, we're going on dates, we're hooking up. Like maybe I've met your friends or vice versa, like maybe not. And then you ask them like, hey, like what's, do you see this going anywhere? Like whatever. And then you get some kind of non-committal response like, oh, maybe I could, but not right now. And then it's like, okay, well, how much more time am I going to waste? Do you know what I mean? So I think that's what these people are trying to get after.
See, I guess my intuition, though, is, my ex did this to me in college. She just said, well, if you don't want to date me, we're not going to hook up anymore. And that worked. I was like, I still want to hook up with you. And so we eventually,
Yikes. I mean, I don't want to have to manipulate someone into dating me that way.
Is it manipulation? I got to chew on that. I don't know. I thought it was a valid play. I don't think that's manipulative.
Like, I don't want someone to date me. I want someone to date me because they want to date me and not because, like, they can't have sex with me anymore. That feels actually very shitty.
Sarah?
Huh?
That's part of the picture.
Yeah, but it's like, if you didn't want to date me before I was withholding sex, then you probably didn't really want to be with me. And that just makes me feel all around bad in this hypothetical scenario. Like, for me, when I do that kind of stuff, it's not like I'm not going to hook up with you anymore. It's like I'm walking away from this.
I mean, I guess it is not necessarily. It does suck to start a relationship on a barter.
Right?
I can meet you there.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I think I'm seeing some empathy for these things.
All right.
I guess for me, I'm
date in New York more and you'll get it, but maybe not because I feel like it's different for guys.
Oh, I hate it already. I'm like, I'm going back to the old-fashioned way. That way worked fine for me. That's how I met everyone that I've been with. I hate these apps. I feel like...
What's the old-fashioned way?
friends of friends.
Oh, right.
And IRL. Remember IRL, folks? It's
Honestly,
out there.
no.
No one does. Well, listen, people. I'm deeply sad inside. My blood is either boiling or freezing, depending what time of day it is. But you know what, guys? You get through a breakup, and then there's light on the other side, or something. Some cliche goes there. Sarah, what do you got for me, cliche wise?
It'll get better.
It'll get better. Guys, we got one heck of an ep for you today. Our second story, AITA for supporting my wife after my daughter publicly exposed her diary, which had cruel comments. But first, by you, kinkyassholethrow. Very solid. Very solid. I'm telling you, they are getting better at the usernames.
Literally.
It's undeniable. AITA for not wanting my flat, that's a British for house apartment thing, my flat to be kink-friendly and potentially getting my flatmates evicted. So I'm 20M and I've just moved in with 3 people at uni, Sarah, Joey, and Michelle. Sarah and Joey are dating and part of a fairly sizable fetish community locally. And they go to a lot of gatherings and they're generally fairly openly kinky. You do you. Go nuts. We moved in together for the upcoming year, and all was going pretty well until 2 days ago when I came home and Michelle immediately pulled me into her room to explain that Sarah and Joey had put up a ton of LGBT and fetish-related flags all over the living room. Side note, today I learned about fetish pride flags. There are a lot of them. They are only these little hand-sized flags. That's all they are, just little hand-sized flags, but they're in a big chain thing across one wall of the living room. Then there's some art. It's just up-close pictures of genitals, and I'm 100% sure it includes the 2 of them and the other people from their little club. Oh my God. Now I'm getting upset. Then OP goes on, there's a shelf that used to have a couple of tiny cacti on it that now has a leather mask, riding crop, and condom bowl. I don't think it's unreasonable to say that we were both obviously beyond uncomfortable with the entire situation. We sat Joey and Sarah down and told them we were uncomfortable and it all had to go. They said it was unfair because it was their lifestyle and they wanted people who came over to the flat to know it was a, quote, kink-friendly place to be yourself, unquote, for any guests or additional partners that might come over, and that the living room shouldn't be a place of oppression unless it's consensual.
I like that they had to insert that caveat.
That's really funny, though. Consensual. What's your fetish? Consensual oppression? You mean American capitalism? Yes, that's okay.
Yeah, I'm like, what is consensual oppression? Whatever.
Yeah, that's the Republican platform.
I mean,
we want the corporations to oppress us. We're really into that. I said it absolutely fucking wasn't, and the only kink-friendly place to be yourself was your private spaces, and that the living room wasn't a place for sex when it's shared. They feel like they'd made their lifestyle clear before we moved in, and the living room is shared, and therefore they can do what they like in it. Michelle and I explained the situation to the housing company we're living in and asked if we could break the lease and move into a 2-bed together. The manager we spoke to went nuts and screamed at Joey and Sarah that he wanted them out and was going to contact his lawyer. I think he's under the impression that they're going to have loads of people over for sex parties all the time, and we can only have a limited number of guests. Also, that it's disgusting. Some of our mutual friends are furious that we potentially made them homeless over, quote, a few flags and kink things. So AITA.
I mean, holy shit.
First, I'd like to just point out the smallest victim of this story who will protect it from being an ESH, and that is the tiny cacti. Where are the tiny cacti?
What happened to the little succulents?
Sarah, or who are we mad at? Sarah and Joey? Where's the little succulents?
What'd you do with them?
Go? Because that was part of the decor and the vibe here. So you need to find those tiny cactuses.
Yeah, that's pretty shitty to just move someone else's stuff so that you can put your pictures of your junk, or just to move in general.
So rude. Who does that?
This is insane.
I mean,
this is so fucked up.
Is, I guess I could start with coming for OP, because I think it's pretty straightforward. I don't think anyone's going to fight. Joey and Sarah deserve to, go raw dogging in this living room. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, none of us are going to be on board for that.
Okay, but OP, I felt like this was one conversation, and I just felt like before going nuclear on them and taking it up the ranks, there could have been some more diplomacy, discussion. That's it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of fair. Like, maybe taking it to the manager immediately, or the landlord, whoever, manager, maybe that was escalating too quickly. And he could have been like, listen, if you don't, I don't know, respect the common space, then I'm going to do this.
Right. I mean, at this point, all they had stated was an intent, you know, and I guess it would be really gross and triggering for like to walk in on that. I'd be actually pretty upset if I came home and people were having sex in my living room.
I mean, I would be pissed. Also, I mean, the flags are one thing. That wouldn't bother me, but like the genital pictures.
Really? If your roommate put up flags with genital... Oh, I thought the flags were of the genital
No,
pictures.
the flags are just flags. That's, I guess, whatever. It's a little annoying that they didn't ask if they could like decorate the common space. Because they're like random people and not like friends. But yeah, the genital pics, the condom bowl is unnecessary. All the paraphernalia, it's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, putting up close-ups of nudes of your personal genitals is
but also honestly, how would OP know? He thinks that it's theirs, but how does he know that?
That's fair. I mean, I was just gonna say that really it's any genitals are gonna be offensive to me.
I mean, I agree with you, but I don't know how OP's so certain it's their genitals.
The one kind of thing that's being leveraged here, and this is kind of an unspoken thing, you and I are liberal people and we don't give two shits about fetish people or LGBT people. Obviously, that's great. Do you. I think OP put that beautifully. But they are kind of leveraging that, right? They're kind of using that because by then bringing that in, they get all this additional juice for the manager to lose his shit.
Yeah, I mean, except it's not really fair because as a lot of people in the comments are pointing out, and like just me having read like maybe 3 articles about fetishes like in my lifetime, it's like consent is so, what's the word? It's like such a cornerstone of it, and not involving people in your kinks without their explicit consent is equally a cornerstone of it. Mm-hmm. So to then turn around and claim and be like, oh, you're not being kink friendly and this and that is not really fair because you're kind of betraying the own values that you're really supposed to uphold.
Yeah, that seems clear as day. I guess I just feel generally that OP maybe just could have let it sit for a day, and I don't know.
Well, we don't, I mean, we don't know the timeline.
Right.
But
if they were clearly not budging, then I got no problem with OP.
I also feel like you could explain to your housing, you don't have to like give everyone your backstory. I feel like I've done this because I tried to break a lease because my boyfriend was trying to hook up with my roommate, but I didn't tell that to my management company. I was just like, hey, what's the fee for breaking a lease? Like, you don't have to go into all of it. I don't understand why OP had to go there. You could just like inquire without having to kind of throw them under the bus and just say, hey, it's not working out.
It's less effective.
Why not?
Sympathy works. If I was a landlord and someone goes, what's it cost to cancel the thing? I'm going to give them the answer. But if some girl comes up to me and goes, hey, my boyfriend's fucking my roommate, so I'd really like to leave. I go, oh my God, that's horrible. Let me waive the fee for you.
Maybe.
Also, is your roommate cute or what's the deal?
Shut the fuck up. Yeah, I mean, maybe not. I feel like if OP was like just kind of inquiring and they were actually serious about just breaking the lease and moving in, like they could have done it in a more subtle way.
Brian B says, NTA doesn't matter what kind of sex they're into. You're a shitty roomie if you plan on having sex in a shared space.
I can't argue with that.
Bracks you up, Sarah. NTA, everybody knows the first rule of kink is consent, and that includes people you might include in public displays. I mean, that's a great rule.
Yeah.
Fish S, ESH, them for obvious reasons. Putting those things up without asking, refusing to listen to you as others have said here. Kink is about consent. You for going to the manager without telling them first. But OP did tell them first.
Did OP tell them that they were going to go to the manager?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah, actually that makes a ton of sense. Yeah, he should have just given the manager as a warning. Like, hey, shit's
yeah, like OP kind of went a little nuclear.
Laura P, you're all assholes. Them for not respecting your consent to common areas. You for bringing their personal biz to the manager instead of just breaking your lease or subletting your room. I don't think that's not why they're the assholes. I think the fact this was effectively a one-strike rule and they didn't get a warning of how serious this could be and they didn't get a further chance to kind of change their behavior. But I think sharing the deets with with the landlord or manager is fine. I mean, it's like that's what's happening.
Yeah, I think that it's more to me that they just went from 0 to 100.
Nate S. writes, YTA for renaming two of the people in the story to Sarah and Michelle and not naming the third person Geller.
Thank you, Nate.
Now we got an anonymous via FB message. ESH, you overreacted by telling the story, but they also shouldn't have posted nudes in the common area, although something was off about when you said LGBT flags. That felt like you were homophobic. I mean, that feels like kind of a leap because, I don't know, like there is such a thing as an LGBT flag. It's like a rainbow flag. I don't really feel like that's...
Maybe the person is saying they felt some type of way that OP objected to those flags, but maybe it wasn't about the flags. Maybe it was just about the fact that they like suddenly appeared.
Yeah, it was about the lack of consent. I mean, I think it's not stated anywhere, but it's like, yes, you have to get your roommate's permission for a common area. That's how common areas work.
Right.
Top comment on Reddit. You did what now? 10, writes NTA. Consent in the kink community is massive. You don't get to involve vanillas against their will.
Ouch.
I take that personally. Shared spaces are not for sexy stuff in rented accommodation. And they're being gross expecting this. You can be friendly and welcoming without kink paraphernalia. A condom bowl, F that. Let them all ride each other in the bedroom, not on the shared couch. I mean, I feel like we're caught here between an NTA and ESH. I guess, honestly, if I sort of just eliminate the kind of like political aspect here and just think like if these were just straights, right? If just really paring this down to like the flatmates are straight people. They're not even into kinks. They just want to fuck in the living room. I would be like, yeah, fuck you guys. That's insane. I'm telling the manager. So I am actually going to go NTA.
Yeah, I can go NTA just because that's not to say that OP is completely without blame or, a perfect angel. But I feel like I am kind of arbitrary on like what times I feel an action is, I don't know, warranted and other times when I go ESH. But I'll still go NTA.
I mean, you are making me think like this is a little bit Karen-y, right? That's kind of the mark of the Karen is sort of invoking authority when it's not necessary, when you could have had a conversation, but they really did push back in the conversation.
Yeah,
I also felt like it was a little gaslighty, right? Because they're kind of like, I mean, just giving OP the benefit of the doubt here. They were sort of like, what? You knew you were moving in with fetishists? And they're like, well, yeah,
like,
but not
we didn't know you were going to fuck on the couch. Yeah.
Exactly. And they're trying to sort of warp the words around. They're being very like, they're trying to be like, oh, so you're not kink friendly. And it's like, no, man, I just don't want you to raw dog in my living room. It's not that I'm not.
Well, first of all, they would use condoms because they did put out a condom bowl. So let's give some credit. But overall, I agree with the sentiment.
I think I'm like 70% NTA, 30% ESH. That's where I feel.
Yeah, I think I'm about there as well. They're a bit of a Karen. We could go YTK.
YTK for OP. AITA for supporting my wife after my daughter publicly exposed her diary, which had quote unquote cruel comments. By you, DFG123U. I've been remarried for a year now to my wife. I have a 15-year-old daughter and an 11-year-old son from my first marriage. I also have a 15-year-old stepdaughter. So he has a 15-year-old daughter, 11-year-old son from the first marriage, and a 15-year-old stepdaughter. Could this be?
Did someone have an affair? I'm confused.
This is so confused. And also, why does he say I've been remarried for a year now? I've been married for a year now, and you had a previous. What does it mean to be remarried?
How do you father two kids who are the same age? Right? Right? Am I insane? Wait, no.
We're getting caught. I don't know. I'm very confused. We're getting caught.
Wait, no, because she had a kid at the same time. Not with him now.
Oh my
God.
I got it. Whew, OP goes on. My wife has always gotten along with my children very well and has gone above and beyond to integrate our families. And although at first my daughter was very standoffish to my wife was eventually able to bond with her. Only then did we get married. A few weeks ago, my daughter found my wife's diary that she had been writing to when we went to marital counseling before we got married. Both our first marriages were terrible, so we were determined to do it right. I was also given a diary. My daughter then proceeded to read everything and even take photographs of certain pages. She then posted photographs on Facebook and called my wife a bunch of cruel names. My wife had written a few things about how she wished I didn't have kids before we met so we could have less issues dealing with my ex. She also said how she hated that my daughter had picked up so many bad traits from my ex. And the last thing related to my kids was that she said my ex was a terrible mother for weaponizing her kids. I admit I was taken aback and upset that my wife had written these things because I knew my kids would be hurt. But this was also a personal diary as part of a therapy exercise, and the diary had been hidden in our closet. My daughter even posted some very sensitive info about my wife dealing with her father, who was an alcoholic. My wife is inconsolable. A lot of my family and friends have turned on her because they think what she wrote was terrible. I disagree. She wrote things that she was concerned would affect our marriage, and the counseling actually helped us deal with having stepchildren. And it's not like I shared the same opinion about my ex. I'm just so defeated. My daughter will no longer see me if my wife is around and won't step foot in our house. My son is following her lead. My wife has already apologized several times. My ex said she will be starting the process to reduce my custody and sue for defamation.
Okay.
I know she won't win the defamation case, but I feel like custody will indeed switch. I'm very stressed. My daughter refused to take down the diary pages and insists she's in the right. I've taken my wife's side in all this. AITA, my entire family has been blown up.
Oh my God. I mean, the fact that it's funny because the fact that the ex is like threatening to sue for defamation over a private diary entry kind of makes me think that the new wife is right, that she weaponizes the kids, but whatever, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a very, I'm very upset at the people in this story because the notion that you would hold a diary against someone, I think diarying, journaling is a very healthy practice where you get out your raw emotions and raw thoughts and process them. Something that America does not like to do is think about what they're doing. But so the notion that they would kind of crucify her for these things that she wrote to herself, it's complete madness.
Yeah, I agree. It's so fucked up.
I mean, I understand.
And the fact that the daughter went totally like, what's the word, vindictive status and wasn't even like, I saw what you wrote. She literally posted it to Facebook is so twisted.
No, I mean, I also see that OP is in a vulnerable position because he doesn't want to lose custody. But like, you know, if these are my kids, I would be like, you're going to delete that now. Here's why what you did is wrong. What mommy did was also hurtful. I wouldn't really say what she did was wrong, but we could definitely talk about how it was hurtful. There's nothing wrong with writing something bad down so that you can process it. I mean, that's a good thing.
Yep.
Tamara O writes, NTA, your daughter is a selfish bee.
Oh,
I don't think we need to come. Do we really need to come for the daughter? Everyone has private thoughts that they don't share, and heaven forbid your relationship is based on honesty and being vulnerable with each other. I'm so sorry for your wife. I mean, I think the daughter, this gives me a lot of empathy and sympathy, because I don't know what it's like. But, you know, their family situation is tough. We've got a daughter in the middle of two women. Whether or not there's weaponization, you know, it's going to be uncomfortable for her. She's got allegiance to one mommy. Maybe that's this wife's fault or mommy's fault, but it's definitely unsettling. It's a bad thing.
Yeah, clearly OP thinking that they worked through their issues was wrong because they're obviously still there in a big way.
That OP thought that they worked.
OP thought that the daughter and the mom or whoever the fuck like worked through their issues, but like definitely not. And although at first my daughter was very standoffish to my wife, my wife was eventually able to bond with her. Like, I'm going to go ahead and say clearly not if the daughter was like looking through a diary.
I don't want to do conspiracy theory and be like, maybe her birth mother is sort of sending her on a mission.
That is truly a conspiracy theory. I wouldn't have even thought it, but like...
Well, and I don't mean so literally like as she actually commanded it, like find the diary, but just in terms of... creating polarization and being like, that's not your real mom and getting very defensive about that, which, you know, I understand to an extent. We don't know what happened to this marriage. So there's a lot. Look at this, Sarah. I'm actually defending the woman here. I guess it's really, I mean, the dad is kind of weak. Yeah, I'm defending the ex-wife a little bit. I feel like it's, you know, I feel like the dad is weak. Like, there's just no reason for daddy not to throw down some discipline here. And I don't hear a lot of discipline. And I think it's because he's not sure what's happening in this situation.
It's hard to say. I loved how you were like, I'm not going to get involved in a conspiracy theory. And then you spouted like 3.
Well, I'm just exploring all the options. I mean, I really do think that, look, the wife did nothing wrong. When you really get down to it, there's nothing wrong with what she did.
Yeah.
frankly think that the daughter likely just found a diary and, she did something that is very toxic. And I've known a lot of people who engage in behaviors like this. It's extremely, it's devastating. I don't know why people do it. I know some diary readers. I have friends who have diary read, and it destroys you. And it's such a bad idea. Let people process. That's not.
Yeah.
It's just such an unhealthy thing. You're looking into someone's raw mind. Like, no.
Yeah, for sure. And then to go and post it on Facebook is just like another level. It's like, why? It's like, don't take it there. That's crazy.
Yeah, and it was hurtful and it was harmful. And I think that's the hard part to reckon with, is that somehow, despite really no malice whatsoever and really no irresponsibility, I mean, what? You expect people to put their diaries in a gun locker now? I mean, give me a break.
Yeah, chill.
I really can't come for the wife at all.
Nope.
I kind of hate OP, but I understand. I feel like he's in this situation where everyone is saying he's wrong. The family has more allegiance to the mother of his children, of course. Ugh, it's a real bind, this poor guy.
I feel bad for him.
Stephanie N. I'm going to say YTA and NTA. Wow, look at that. Remixing the damn thing. YTA, because you need to take both their sides. Your daughter shouldn't have read the diary, but what she did and what she found broke her newly found trust to this person. She's still a kid with kid emotions. But NTA for also sticking with your wife because she's your wife. And yeah, it may have been her way of venting during all this. You should all do some counseling together.
That's what I was going to say. I was like, everybody get to family counseling stat.
I mean, that's definitely what this needs. This was a very unfortunate situation. And 15, I feel, is like pretty, I don't know, maybe it's like 18 or 19 when you're like, oh, my parents are human. Like, they make mistakes. Like, they have feelings and are like
15, I think you're still kind of a jackass.
Yeah. That said, I think this is actually clear cut now that I go back to the title. AITA for supporting my wife after my daughter publicly exposed her diary, which had cruel comments. I mean, no, I can't.
Yeah, def not.
So would it be NTA and the other person is? No.
I think that you don't think the daughter's the asshole for like posting that shit on Facebook?
I guess you're right. She could be the asshole, but she is 15. In the context of this, is she really the person who's wrong? I would actually sooner come for the mother, because if the birth mother is trying to then leverage this into a custody event.
Oh, I forgot about that angle of it.
And that shows that there's a lot of, I think that's plainly ridiculous, and I think it's ridiculous that the birth mother wouldn't be like, you need to take that stuff off Facebook immediately. You do not look in someone's diary. That would be the mature move here.
Yeah, the ex-wife is definitely the asshole for threatening like a frivolous lawsuit that she knows is not going to hold any water.
It's very litigious. It's very, I think I might have a phrase here, and just like, you don't want to appeal to a higher authority for no reason. Like, go to the source, have a conversation, people. That's what it is. And that's what Karening is. Karens are the manager and the cops. And it's like, talk to the person and try to work it out, because that's, why are you going to involve the court system for this? Well,
I don't think this lady wants to work it out. I think she wants revenge.
Of course. And we don't know what happened, and I guess that's the only way, but I'm given the information we have and assuming that, OP isn't a piece of shit and cheated on her or something like that. No brainer. Right. AITA for supporting my wife after my daughter publicly exposed her diary, which had cruel comments, going NTA, and the other person which is the birth mother.
Sure.
Now it's time for everybody's favorite part of the show, listener submissions. AITA for ending my relationship because it feels like a long distance one. I, 33F, have been dating my GF, 30F, about a year. And for the most part, it's going really well. We don't live together. It's just not something we're ready for, but we are in love and have openly talked about how we could spend our lives together. However, ever since COVID hit, we haven't really been able to see each other. I'm being so careful. I work from home now. I only go outside to take walks or sit in my own backyard. I even get my groceries using curbside pickup. Basically, I'm super low risk. She's also being careful and taking precautions, but is an essential worker and at a higher risk than I am. Because of this, she hasn't wanted to hang out in person aside from walks, outdoor hangs, in the park, or in the backyard. However, she gets stressed out about even holding hands or kissing. It's nice to see her and spend time together, but it's becoming harder and harder to not be able to make out, cuddle, have sex, or even spend time inside one another's houses. And it's not just about sex. I genuinely feel us not being able to have intimacy or genuine time together is hurting our relationship and causing us to grow apart. This has been 4 months already, and there is no real end in sight. She made it clear that she's worried about being a possible asymptomatic carrier and spreading it to me, and is not worried about me spreading anything to her. I've explained that I know she's protected at work, masks, protective gear, etc., and that I feel it is okay for us to, quote unquote, open our circles to just each other. However, it's not something she seems to want to budge on. When I carefully bring up that I miss her and feel worried, she gets visibly stressed out and says she doesn't feel comfortable. I know she's stressed and worried about getting me sick, but it's really becoming difficult and I miss her. I don't know anybody else in this situation right now, and I feel like even though plenty of couples don't live together, we're the only ones separating this way. Maybe I'm wrong. I'd love to hear from somebody in a similar situation. AITA for wanting to push for indoor hangouts and overnights, or possibly ending the relationship if this has to continue for another 4 months. This doesn't feel sustainable, and COVID could go on for another year or two, so I'm not sure how long we're supposed to keep this up. I understand where she's coming from, but at some point, I think we should be allowed to open our circles to each other. I'm really open to finding better ways to come if I'm the asshole in the situation, but I need some help and to know what to do here. AITA.
Yeah, this is kind of rough. I feel for them. I think, like, in general, my rule is, like, you're never the asshole for wanting to end a relationship. Like, you don't need a good reason. If you're not happy, then boom. That being said, this to me is a valid enough reason.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that she is sort of being selective. It's like if you're out and about and you're getting exposed to all these people, your boyfriend's desperate, you're young. I don't even think, like, look, if she infects him, that's one person. So, like, the damage to society is so low. It really does feel like cruel at a point.
I don't think it's cruel to want to be cautious, but it's kind of like, I totally understand her wanting to mitigate risk, but it seems like she's really just worried about mitigating his risk. And at the end of the day, if he wants to risk it, then I don't know, that's his decision, I suppose.
Yeah, it just feels a little selective to me, and it's very hard to know, but, you know, I'll be honest and say that something similar happened in my relationship, and this is a powerful excuse to say, oh, it's COVID. It's COVID. I don't want to do this or that because of COVID. And it is an excuse, and there is some validity to it, but that doesn't mean that anytime it's used, it's valid.
I feel like I would like you to elaborate further.
Well, I mean, in my case, it was just that, you know, I was very alarmed about COVID, and as was my girlfriend, and I felt kind of ignored, and like she refused to take a walk with me. And I was like, what is this? You won't take a walk? You know, and
yeah.
I don't really know what that was about. She was super busy with work at the time, but like I felt like she kind of leaned on COVID, and I was like, listen, like we can go in the stairs, wear masks the entire time, and be exposed to no people. So,
oh my God, down 36 flights of steps. Jesus.
It's part of the exercise. It's part of the exercise.
God. I'd be tired.
Well, there's a rule you can't share the elevator with anyone, you know.
I don't know. Generally, I feel a little like iffy about accusing people of leaning on COVID. Like, to me, her concerns are completely valid if she's an essential worker. The only place like I would come for him is like him trying to push for indoor hangouts and stuff that she doesn't want. It's kind of like, don't make your course of action to try to be to like push someone's boundaries. I don't love that.
I mean, I'm ready to just go with what you're saying, because I feel like it's super diplomatic to everyone here. You're saying, look, if she doesn't want to do this and it amounts to his perceiving it as paranoia or essentially like masking something else, which maybe she's not attracted to him or whatever it might be, he has a right to break up with her. And I like that you said that, because you're right. Like this is kind of a brutal thing to do to someone, even if it is valid. And I like this kind of rule. Like, you know, unless you have kids, you are totally free to break up with anyone for any reason. Like that's just fair.
Right. Thank you.
So
yeah, I don't know. I can't come for him for like wanting some kind of physical relationship, especially like if you're dating and you're just basically, I don't know, pen pals. Like I don't blame him for wanting to get out. I don't blame her for, you know, not wanting to risk it. I can't blame anyone overall except the fucking coronavirus. So
Kate A writes, NAH for wanting more, but TA for pushing and breaking up. She's not an asshole for wanting you to be safe, and you're not an asshole for knowing continuing the relationship isn't sustainable. Seems like y'all have different feelings around the level of precaution to take, and that's fine and not something that should be pushed. I don't think this is breakup worthy, though. I think, you know what I'm seeing this, like, just that and my breakup just happened, and that, you know, this situation really does push you to some extreme edges, right? Like
yes.
In this situation, it's pushing, it's saying like, hey, would you still love this person if you couldn't be physical with them at all? Tough, very tough question. Or,
right.
You know, in our cases, and was like, what if you spent every second of every day for months after months together? So it really does push it to the extremes.
100% true. It's been such a mind fuck, I think, for people. I don't think I don't totally agree. To me, this is breakup worthy. Also, it's a pretty new, a year. I mean, it's not like they've been dating for like half a decade and have like been through major trauma. Like they don't live together. This to me is this is breakup worthy if you want it to be, you know?
Yeah, I feel like that's where OP is at, and I don't blame her. AITA for ending my relationship because it feels like a long distance one. I think we agree. No assholes here.
Yeah, I feel like we got a couple YTAs. It's pretty split. To me, this is a pretty clear no assholes here.
Yeah, Jillian S. wrote, YTA, respect your boundaries right now and get creative for ways to connect on different levels. I mean... This
is like probably just my New York jadedness coming through, but it's just kind of like there's so many people in the world. Like, if you're not happy, you don't need to force it in this unprecedented situation if you don't want to. Like, if this is someone that you really feel attached to, yeah, this is definitely the time to get creative. But if you're ambivalent right now, then just just end it. Yeah, good luck. I don't know. Good luck finding someone who's going to randomly make out with you in COVID when you don't even know them. But all right, it's your prerogative.
Yeah. I mean, a thought I've had, and it's not very sexy, but it's very true, is that a lot of relationships, and this is true about friendships, are based on convenience. And that's just how it is. Why are you friends with the people you went to high school with? Because they were there. That's why. You wouldn't choose those people. But they were next to you, and so you were friends with them. And, if that's what actually created the relationship, and it sounds like this might be part of the picture, there's nothing wrong with ending it. I mean, I think you hit that on the head from the get-go.
Thanks. I'm very wise, even in my lack of experience. It's because I read Reddit all the time.
Reading Reddit is basically it's like training for real life. It's like boot camp. You read enough Reddit.
It's been so bad for my view on relationships, but I do feel as though now I'm equipped to give advice on almost any situation.
All right, folks. Well, it's been one heck of an ep. Thanks so much for tuning in. Please rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. Give us 5 stars. We really appreciate it. Write a review about how much you hate me and how much you love Sarah. We have a Patreon. Yeah, people. If you wanted, you could be listening to AITA for getting mad at my sister for not wanting me shirtless at her pool. Now that's a bunch of juice. AITA for refusing to take off my heels around my short male cousin. Hello. And this rather intriguing listener submish, AITA for leaving my 34F BF 34M for possibly being on meth.
Drama.
Tough call there. I mean, the title, guessing the verdict here, definitely.
You had me at meth.
You had me at meth. We'll see you guys next Monday morning.
Bye.